Shalom once again, Yasharala. I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect, beginning with the 144,000. Lord willing, this quick, brief lesson be quick to be edifying to the hopeful elect. And just 2 points, real quick. Running to get something to eat before it get too late, before everything shut down, before I gotta Lord have mercy though, cause it's we already live in a food desert, especially when you're in an urban area and so-called ghettos or whatever, and where it's predominantly fast food. If you're not, if you can, you want to go grocery shopping and, learn to cook your own food. But, in my case, it's difficult. I'm forced to have to go out and fucking spend money. So I still try to do the best that I could do, and eat like real food, chicken, fish. Try not to eat beef as much. Turkey, eating from Spanish spots. Lord have mercy though. Spanish spots, Jamaican spots, so-called rather. I try to stay away from the fast food, the processed food, all the sandwiches, the bread, all the bread, and try to eat real food. Try to stick to like vegetables, fruits as much as possible, and real meat. But the Lord, and a lot of these fish spots, it's like ass. But the Lord had like this fake El Portos with they got that in New York, where they sell abominable foods or whatever, but you got pick, you gotta sift through the bullshit, and you gotta deal with some bullshit to to get what you want. The best of the bullshit. You gotta pick the best of the bullshit. And so I try to do salmon and snapper. I don't really be trying to eat the fried food, so I find myself not eating the whiting. But anyways, I do tuna fish, but they opened up this fake El Portos, and I been finding myself eating here a lot lately, vegetables and fish. But shit get expensive, man. Shit get expensive, and I find myself spending, just me alone, anywhere easy, $20 to $50, $60 a day, man. I do not want to do it. That's my lot. That's the situation, for certain brothers or whatever. Put up the prayers, you put up the fast. You try to do the best that you can do. But when I came out, right, I had to get something to eat for somebody else, for my Eve rather, and the store that she wanted a chicken gyro, ordered her that from the other store that was right across the street. And Jake, one thing the men of the 12 tribes of Israel can relate to, if not anything else, is the oppression of the woman. All right. And so this Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, in the Apocrypha 25 and 24, of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Right? And so the reason why I bring this out is because no matter where you go, man, if you stand around long enough in a public area where it's predominantly Jake and in some type of traffic, you know, food spot, gas station, whatever, you gonna catch very often men venting about women, you know, and the bullshit that they dealing with. And that's, you know, when I was in the chicken shack, I'm ordering my food, you know, and I'm overhearing the conversation of these two elderly men or whatever. At first, you know, I was trying to nix it off or whatever, but you know, dealing in the spirit or whatever, you try to be circumspect, try to, you know, be open-minded to, you know, the Lord trying to tell you something through random people, because the Lord, you know, is omnipotent. He work like that sometimes, you know. And so I'm trying to stay to myself, but at the same time, Spirit got me listening. So they just, you know, they both just venting, and I didn't look at them at first, you know, the evil eye. I try not to, you know, I'll try to be careful, you know, who I look at, how long I look at them, you know, and try to mind my business ultimately. But through that conversation, it made me look at them both before I left out, and I saw them like, man, these both elderly men, and they both and brothers was getting into this last camp, you know, yesterday, Tuesday or whatever, you know, how insanity or the thought of hell, the false sense of hell is, you know, you repeating something over and over and over, right? And so, you know, it's like, man, dealing with your own women problems, it's like, man, I've been told myself, you know, I've been realizing, I'm like, yo, man, if I don't break this cycle of allowing women, you know, I always think of Friday, right? You gotta have mind control over Debo. These women is fucking Debo, man. You know, the way that they carry themselves, the mentality that they have, you know, them knowing the power that they have, and looking down on you, you know, as the weaker link, all right, as the weaker vessel, rather than, you know, it, which is the order of things upside down. You know, they're the weaker vessel. They're supposed to be the weaker link, and we're supposed to be the leaders, and, you know, be the heads of the household. But anyways, that's not the case predominantly. And if you allow the order to be upside down, it's gonna stay like that, you know. And you're not gonna break the cycle, and you're gonna find yourself complaining about the same shit, you know, when it comes to these women. If you don't make a change, if you don't gain the discipline, ultimately, if you don't repent to Yahweh Shem Yahushua, because it's all a part of the curses, right? So, two things, right? When of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad. So you have to keep a tight leash on whatever woman that, or women that you are dealing with, in order to establish a certain level of order and structure and discipline within your personal life. All right. And it's even more important when you serving Yahweh Shema Shai. You keeping the works, you know, keeping this truth, this thing of ours, as the number one priority. All right. If you don't keep a tight rope on your woman or your women, they will fuck your whole shit up. They will have your whole world fucked up. Your whole order and structure system, you know, you will be unstable. You know, it says, if she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off from thy flesh and give her a bill of divorce and let her go. And this is much easier said than done. All right, but if you don't do this, you're gonna find yourself going through the same emotional roller coaster with this woman, and they know, you know, they know what they could do, they know what they can't do, and they, you know, eventually, you know, they don't take you serious. You know, one thing my cousin said, he said, every time, you know, you let them get it off, every time you tell them something, you try to put your foot down, or you draw the line, you draw a boundary, and you let them You let them, you know, move you from off your pivot. You let them cross that line, all right, and break the threshold of that boundary that you set up. Is one strike against your respect, you know. And he said, and he was passionate when he said it too. He said, to the point where you don't have no respect left, you don't got no strikes left, and then now, because since you're a man, and since, you know, it's just natural, right? Now you gotta wild out for your respect, you know, which niggas in the hood call crashing out, which is you doing some dumb shit, you know, desperately looking to gain back, you know, a piece of your manhood, you know. But you should never allow yourself to get to that point, because ultimately that's them having power over you, you know, whether directly or indirectly. All right, so if you gotta cut a woman off, right, it's like the scriptures say, if your right hand offend you, cut it off. All right, no matter what it is, and women is the number one thing. All right, you gotta cut it. You gotta cut it off. All right, and stop popping her. You gotta stop popping her, and it just, you know, learn. No matter what you gotta do, pray fast, move, block her, change your number, whatever you gotta do. You make sure you do it. You know, and you know, of course, everybody's situation is different. Maybe it's not that serious. All right, but you know, you don't want to, you know, you don't want to allow Satan or these demons to deceive you through these women, and you know, you find yourself going through the same shit 30-40 years. But anyways, that's the first thing, right? Second thing is Ezekiel 4 and Ezekiel 4 and 10, and what is this? The NLT. Ezekiel 4 and 10 in the NLT. It says, ration this out yourself 8 ounces of food for each day, and eat it at set times. Then measure out a jar of water for each day, and drink it at set times. All right. So, you know, part of Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation, you know, Esau, Edom's, the nation of the so-called white man, which goes back to the Edomites, which goes back to Esau, the twin brother of Jacob. His age of rulership coming to an end. His government structure that he has set up collapsing. His, you know, the American economy is collapsing. Babylon the Great is falling. All right, and will be ultimately destroyed by thermonuclear fire. All right, completely. You know, it's going to happen, and this place is going to be destroyed in steps and levels. One of those steps is for all hell to break loose. You know, inflation to continue to rise. The dollar is going to collapse. All right. There's going to be, which is going to cause a famine of the word. You know, the truth is, you know, brothers not going to be out on the highways and byways preaching openly. All right. It's going to be very difficult to gain this truth, but a famine of food and water, physical food and water as well, you know. And these prices is all over the place. Gas prices seem like they're going back up, you know, and you know, food, right? So as things get rougher, you know, we're taught through the scriptures to prepare ourselves to learn to ration, you know, our food and water supply, all right, as means of enduring the hour of temptation, enduring the time of Jacob's trouble, enduring the famine that may come, you know, that is going to come, you know, and we're all going to be affected by it. Some brothers more than others. All right. And, you know, depending on the level of discipline and mental toughness that you have, the order and structure that you have with yourself and your family, you know, the more better off you'll be, or the worse off you'll be, you know. And these women, right, tying it all in, if you don't have discipline over your woman, then this is gonna, because you know, you could be good with your time management, you could be good with your money management, but when you link up with that woman, you know, these women, you know, if you don't got a tight leash on them, if you don't, you know, if you can't put your foot down, if you can't establish a certain level of order structure with them, you know, they gonna, like I said, they gonna fuck your whole shit up, and you know, you gonna find yourself hungry as hell. You gonna find yourself not being able to ration your food and water supply wisely. All right, especially, you know, when kids involved. All right, and so just something to think about, man. Something to think about, right? Speaking for myself first, you know. This is Proverbs in closing 31:3. It says, "Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings." Right? When you go into the word strength, it says hayel, and it says strength, might, efficiency. Right? So you might be efficient. You know, you might know how to save money. You know how to ration. You know, whatever stockpiles of goods you do have. All right, but these women, you know, they all they know is gimme. They don't know how. They don't respect the word no. You know, you tell them no, you know, and they try to do all types of things to try to persuade you to, you know, to give them a yes, you know, and you know, and through sex, right? If you can't cut yourself off, you know, through the flesh and stop laying down with them, you know, that's, if don't nothing else get you, it's two things, right? Them cooking something for you, and them giving you some ass or some head, right? At the end of the day, right? In the bedroom, period. Right? These women know how to get you, and if you can't discipline yourself, that's why it's good to have your own place, your own car, your own income, you know, and be self-sufficient and not need, you know, these women, not need, you know, other men. If you don't know other family members, you know, all you should depend on is Yahweh Shem Shai, all right, and the brotherhood, you know, as much as you possibly can. But if you don't keep discipline with yourself, then that's, and you know, you lack discipline with your woman, that's you giving them your strength, your ability to be efficient. You know, it says wealth, army, all right? Strength, ability, efficiency, wealth, force, army, all right? And so, going to that root word of that, it says, call, it says to twist, whirl, dance, writhe, fear, tremble, travail, be in anguish, be pain, right? And so, if this is all the things that you know, these women turn you inside out. You know, how your mind all twisted up, all right? You know, what the scriptures say, a double-minded person, roughly paraphrasing, is unstable in all their ways. All right, you want to be single-minded with the spiritual mind of Yahweh Shem Shai. All right, and these women will throw you off and have your whole world twisted. All right, take you for a whirlwind. All right, have you dealing in fear. You constantly worried about her, what she doing. All right, you in fear of losing her. Right, tremble, travail, be in anguish, be pained. To wait anxiously, right? To be distressed, suffering, torture. All right, and it's just a experience, and it's one thing for you to go through it for a period of time, but like going back to the point, right? You have men that never break this cycle, and they constantly talking, they constantly venting about the same shit over and over and over. How they trying to get over, the woman, the weakness of women in their life, whether it's the same woman or multiple women, man. So Lord willing, I was edifying to the hope for elect, call all y'all Bashim, y'all Shai Bashim, Rakakadash, double honor to the apostles, bishops, and elders of great millstone, citations to the hope for elect, Shalom.